Anyone else? No? Vishataha. Circumstantial. Kalataha. By the influence of time. Jaha. One who. Aso. The living entity. Avastata. By situation. Swataha. By dream. Anyataha. By others. Abhilupta. Extinct. Abhavhoda. Consciousness. Atma. Pure self. Saha. He. Jujeta. Engaged. Ajaya. With nescience. Katham. How is it so? Translation. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in nescience? Please repeat. The pure soul, is pure consciousness, and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in nescience? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The consciousness of the living being is always present and never changes under any circumstances as above mentioned. When a living man moves from one place to another, he is conscious that he has changed his position. He is always present in the past, present, and future, like electricity. One can remember incidents from his past and can conjecture about his future, also on the basis of past experience. He never forgets his personal identity, even though he is placed in awkward circumstances. How then can the living entity become forgetful of his real identity as pure spirit soul and identify with matter unless influenced by something beyond himself? The conclusion is that the living entity is influenced by the avidya potency, as confirmed in both the Vishnu Purana and the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The living entity is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7.5 as Paraprakriti, and in the Vishnu Purana he is mentioned as the Parashakti. He is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord as potency and not as the potent. The potent can exhibit many potencies, but the potency cannot equal the potent at any stage. One potency may be overcome by another potency, but to the potent, all potencies are under control. The Jiva potency, or the Kshetragya Shakti of the Lord, has a tendency to be overpowered by the external potency, avidya karma samkhya. And in this way, he is placed in the awkward circumstances of material existence. The living entity cannot be forgetful of his real identity unless influenced by the avidya potency. Because the living entity is prone to the influence of the avidya potency, he can never equal the supreme potent. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnanandjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavari Paschatyadesh-tarine. Om Tat Sat. Okay, so Thank you for the opportunity to glorify Bhagavatam. So before Bhagavatam really begins, Sutta Goswami, when he addresses the sages of Naimisharanya, right in the beginning of this book, first canto, before anything else, he offers respects to his superior, to his guru, Sukadeva Goswami, who has narrated this Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And after he does that, he offers respects to Narayan, the famous Narayanam Namaskrityam, Naram Chaivam Narotamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tatoyayam Udirayet. So, what is the translation? Tatoyayam Udirayet. Yayam refers to victory, the means of conquest. That's how the translation goes. Right? Who knows the exact translation? Anybody remembers? 1, 2, 4. Let me read that, it's important. Okay. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest. Okay, that's the translation. The very means of conquest. Conquest of what? What is that we are meant to conquer? Right? He says this is the means of conquest. It's like if you have a tool, hammer or this, that, the other, has a particular purpose. So what is the means of conquest? I mean, what is that we're conquering, or meant to conquer? Sense gratifications, one of the things, yeah. Many other things. What else do we need to conquer? Desires, very good. Did you say?
Birth and death.
Birth and death, very good. That's a consequence of conquering something. Baladev Vidyabhusha, one of the acharyas of the past, whom Prabhupada dedicated his Bhagavad Gita. Every book that Srila Prabhupada wrote, he dedicated to someone. He dedicated the Bhagavatam to whom? I asked this before. Who he dedicated this Bhagavatam to? The Bhagavad Gita, Baladev Vidyabhusha. The Bhagavatam he dedicated to his spiritual master. The Krishna book he dedicated to his father. Right? Teachings of Lord Chaitanya to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc., like that. Practically every book he dedicated to someone as an offering, like when we offer a flower or something to the deities or to the Guru. So, this means of conquest, this Bhagavatam, and of course this is kind of a longish prelude to what the topic of today is, but actually Prabhupada gives the answer to what is that we are meant to conquer. And it's called avidya. Avidya means ignorance. Vidya means knowledge. Avidya means ignorance. And the whole purpose of Srila Prabhupada is to explain the reason why we fall in illusion. The end of this verse says, how does he become engaged in nescience? You say nescience here? Some places they say nescience. Nescience.
What does it mean?
Different countries, different pronunciation. It means ignorance. That's what it is. Avidya. Right. So this is a very important point, and this conquering, that's the topic, one of the topics. See, in the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm sure you have read this and I'm sure you have heard it many times, Srila Prabhupada said twice that becoming Krishna consciousness or taking a spiritual life is like declaring war to Maya. You heard this one? Right? Many times, right? Many, many times. In the Gita, Prabhupada said twice this. Chapter 6 and chapter 9. He says specifically, we are declaring war to Maya. So we have to get ready. War means something specific. It's not just an allegory. It's not just poetry. It's very specific because Maya is there. And the reason that we are here is because we love it. We are addicted. We like it. And I was hearing the classes that Maharaj gave day before yesterday. Day before yesterday. Tuesday, yes. And then Yadunanda Prabhu gave the class before yesterday. And they were explaining different points of this section of the Bhagavatam. This is perhaps one of the most detailed sections of the Bhagavatam, the longest, 2 cantos, 3rd and 4th, by the same couple of speaker and hearer, Vidura and Maitreya. What's the title of this chapter? Further Inquiries by Vidura. And if you read in one go this chapter, you will hear so many questions, so many questions. You can sense how fired up Vidura is asking questions. It's one after another. Ask one question and then Maitreya doesn't even answer them. And then he continues asking more and more questions. And this goes on for 2 cantos, like that. So the first canto is called Creation. The second one is Cosmic Manifestation. And this one is Status Quo. It's a Sanskrit term, which means when things are settled. So once things are done, so what is it? What is it that we have here? So the means of conquest. This Bhagavatam, it's meant to help us to conquer the illusory energy, the influence of the illusory energy, right? And this word that it's used in this verse that was recited by Sutta Goswami, Narayana namaskrityam naram chaivam narotamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato yayam udirayet. This word jaya also we find, for example, in param vijayate, right? We say vijayate. Victory or glory sometimes described. Victory or glory. What victory? What victory are we talking about? The same point. Victory or glory over this enemy. Now, of course, we like to present Krishna consciousness, which is very beautiful, very attractive, very appealing, very much fun, right? Yesterday was Nishinha Chaturdasi, and I know that the temple was packed. I couldn't come, was working. But I was watching different festivals in different parts of the world, and everyone was so ecstatic, so blissful. So we generally like to present the movement like that, and it is like that. But there is an issue. And there is an issue that it's always there. And that issue or problem is that sometimes we come for some time, and then what happens? Then we go and never come back, right? Practically at the same rate. This is from seniors. I can quote names, but I don't want to. At the same rate that people comes to us, people leaves. How many guests come here? How many guests come to the farm or I don't know, harinams or festivals, and how many people stay? And this was presented to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, be surprised of those who stay, no, not of those who leave. But the reason why people leave, or why we fall, or why we commit mistakes and things like that, is because of avidya. So these warnings are there. Sri Chaitanya begins his Shikshastaka saying, Param Vijayate. The last line of the first verse. Param Vijayate. Success, victory, glory to the Sankirtan movement. This is what will free people. The Bhagavatam from the very beginning, remember? Here Prabhupada says, in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is confirmed that the living entity is influenced by the avidya potency. Right? And if we look carefully, scrutinizingly, like Baladev Vidyabhushan says. We need to look for those pearls in this book. Sometimes it's a Sanskrit word or English word or Spanish word or Chinese word, whatever word or whatever language we are reading, we need to find those pearls. So when we're reading first canto, the second verse of the first canto, first chapter, it says that this Bhagavatam enables us to see, to know the highest truth. And what is the highest truth? What does the verse say? Who remembers? Reality distinguished from illusion. Reality distinguished from illusion. That's the literal translation. Reality distinguished from illusion. And what is that illusion? What is that illusion? You know.
Material life.
Material life is illusion, yeah.
Duality.
What?
Like dualities.
Dualities, yeah. What are the dualities? Dualities mean two. So what are the good and bad? Right? Pleasure and pain. Yeah, yeah. Prabhupada, it's in the Gita, in one of the purposes, he says something quite interesting. He says, the living entity in illusion is enjoying the miseries of this material world. Enjoying the miseries of material world. I thought it was an editorial mistake, you know. So the warnings are there. This is a serious thing, you know. If we get the notice by our dear medical officers that we have 6 months to live, right? My job as a counselor, sometimes I get these clients that their wife, their son, themselves lost their job, wife left, husband left, something happened, kid died, father died, dog died, you know. And what do I say? What can I say? You know? Yes, you have to process things differently. But many times, most times, I think if I could just tell them about Bhagavatam. Of course, if I do, I could get sacked quite easily. But I'm just thinking of these verses and I'm talking to people all day long. And it's just misery after misery. Right? Nobody called the counselor when things are going well. You know, oh, I'm going great. I don't know how to take it. I cannot help it. I don't know how to process this. So much joy. No. So the Bhagavatam gives us these warnings. Sutta Goswami explains it. And then the following verses, the main thing that Sutta Goswami tells the sages is how to cut. You know, war battles. I'm sure no one of us has been in war, maybe. Are you? You're an army ex? Yeah? Okay, well. But you know, when we were little, we play war, yeah? And then we get swords and we get bows and arrows and guns and things like that, you know? So it's always cutting, chopping, you know, stabbing. I remember as a little kid. So the Bhagavatam uses the same words, you know, chindaya, cut this, shanti, cut everything, destroy, slash, like that. So Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita talks about these things and gives us warnings. I said this repeatedly in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, 3, and 4. We get warnings. We get the false warnings about the false ego, false proprietorship, false, did you say gratification? Somebody said gratifications, yeah? Desires. In chapter 3, Jadunanda Prabhu was quoting the famous verses in regards of Mr. Lust. Prabhupada called Mr. Lust, that are born out of what mode? Passion. Passion, yes. So chapter 3 warns us about lust. Chapter 4 warns us about doubts. Doubts are like sharks, right? Australia is one of the popular items in Australia is that you can get eaten here, right? Says someone that I'm still attached to waves and beach and stuff like that. So the warnings are there, and the recommendations in chapter.
Where does it say doubts come from?
Where does it say that doubts come from? From avidya, from ignorance, by the influence of avidya. Right? So, chapter 3, chapter 4, they recommend that we need to take the sword of knowledge and cut those doubts, cut lust by spiritual strength, by association. Prabhupada says in one of the purports, by hired intelligence. When he says higher intelligence or higher authorities, he's referring to the parampara. Like that. Krishna, Shastra, gurus, like that. So the warnings are there. And why? Why this long prelude to this verse? Because we need to be aware of the enemy. In chapter 3, Krishna says, Indriyani mano buddhir. Indriya means senses. Mana means the mind. Buddhir means intelligence. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, and also quite nicely in several classes that I heard, he says, almost like relishing, the wonderful instructions that Krishna gives us. He says, the enemy has occupied strategic positions in the body of the living entity. And Krishna is identifying those spots. Indriyani manobudhir. In our senses, in our mind, in our intelligence. Asya distanam uchyate. It is explained that they are settled there. Etharbi mohayati sha. In that way, influences the living entity like a magician. Nothing here, nothing there. This disappears, something appears. That's like a magician. Yogini, Krishna is called. Jnanam abritya dehina. And whatever knowledge you have, it will be destroyed. Jnanam abritya dehina. That's what Maya does. And that's why some of us who have been around, we see how sometimes devotees come and they're fired up, do this, do that, so many things, and then disappear like magic. Right? Where is that Prabhu, or where is that Mataji? Janina, I don't know. I haven't seen them for a long, long time. I heard they're somewhere, something. So, why? Avidya. Prabhupada is giving us a clue here. So, all this to say that it is important to hear Bhagavatam carefully, attentively. Why? Because the disease of avidya, it's already there. It's not, I'm going to catch it. It's like somebody sent me a text message the other day. I said, Prabhu, how are you? Where are you? This and that. And then he said, oh, I caught COVID in Brisbane Ratha Yatra. Maybe, I don't know. That's what he said. So it's not that we have to catch it. It's already there. We are already infected. So we need to work on that. And we need to try to conquer that. That's what the Bhagavatam is for. And that's why Vidura is asking. Like when the doctor gives you that wonderful news that you just have 6 months or a couple of years, that's generally there. Yeah? 6 months, 24 months. And then one is desperate. What should I do? What I shouldn't do? What should I eat? What should I take? What do you recommend? What's best? Surgery, chemo, this, that, the other. Right? So the disease is already there. And we need to conquer it. That's what Bhagavatam is for. That's what Sankirtan is for. That's what the Shastras, the Gurus, the association, the process. Right? So it is a serious matter, but the problem is, as Prabhupada said, and he said these words. I mean, he said it in general sometimes, but sometimes he emphasized on Westerners. All of us are Westerners. Mati, where are you from? No?
India.
India, okay, so you're saved. This one. It says, you Westerners are not enough afraid of Maya. Now I think Indians also, because they are so in Maya. It says, you go to India, it's not like it used to be like in the old days. You go to these airports and it's so developed and everyone's wearing, fashion clothes and this and that. It's super expensive. Everything is so materialistic. In Prabhupada's times, it was the West. But now the East is so influenced that it's just one. So that's the idea. That's the problem. That we are not afraid enough of Maya. Until it's too late. That's the problem. So we shouldn't wait till it's too late. And we get sometimes reminders. My Guru Maharaj, Srila Jayapataka Swami, he always says, because he has so many health issues. And every time I see him, I say, how are you, Guru Maharaj? And he says, always something. If it's not my eye, if it's not my head, if it's not my liver, if it's not this, it's not that, it's an infection, it's this, blood pressure, always something. But that's the body, he says. I'm personally blissful, but that's just the body. And how are you, he asked me. Now I'm thinking, okay, my body's not too bad, but I'm miserable. I wish I can become a real devotee. So that's the problem. The problem is that we think we're doing fine, and then the mind starts telling us, oh, you're a great devotee. Oh, now you're okay. Now you learn a few mantras, you went to India, took initiation, and then you put your guards down. Right? That's what boxers say. Right? Don't put your guard down. Then you put your guards down, and then Maya comes and give you a couple good ones, and you're out, knocked out. Right? Or then our intelligence, we start thinking, oh, I'm so clever, I know so much, I know better than this one and that one and practically anybody else. I remember once a devotee Maya told me, I don't listen to anybody, I just listen to Prabhupada. I just listen to Prabhupada. I was too tired to wrestle that one. So I said, oh, okay, good luck, no problem. And then Prabhupada says, associate with your devotees, listen from your God brothers and God sisters, etc. So the senses, as we know, that goes without saying, the senses are like predators. Which is the fastest predator? It's not philosophical. This is just the cheetah. Yeah, the cheetah, exactly. Those are the fastest, right? As soon as they put their eyes onto something, in no time they'll catch you. Generally, they run in pairs. So if you evade one, the other one will catch you. One of those turns. So the eyes are like that. When we see things, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that color. I like that form. I like that shape. So we need to be very careful. The senses, what we smell, what we taste, we have to be extremely careful. In the beginning, Prabhupada said, just have some fun, eat more, chant and dance, Haribol, Haribol. But sometimes in his conversations, he will say, until when this Haribol, Haribol will last? Sometimes privately, now it's not private, everything is out there on the internet, books everywhere, so it's nothing private. Before it was closed doors, Prabhupada and a couple of people. But now it's out there. And Prabhupada did warn us. And then we get hurt. Then there are accidents. Actually, in that famous verse of 930, Abhichet Sudaracharo, that even if one commits the most abominable activity, right? If one is properly situated, should be considered a saint. In that purport, Prabhupada says, to take up this Krishna consciousness process is to declare war to the illusory energy, or Maya. In that very same purport. It says one shouldn't think that because one has become a devotee, one can be casual about, devotional practices. Because then you have accidental fall downs, like that. And then if you don't follow the principles, what's that verse? Sruti smriti puranadi, pancharatra vidimbina. that, Shrutis, Smritis, all the Vedic knowledge is divided into different categories, Shrutis, Smritis, Puranas, etc. And there are processes, Pancharatra, the process of deity worship, it's guided by Pancharatra. So not anybody can just enter, and if they enter, the pujaris know they have to clap, ring the bell, say some mantras, etc., etc. Everything has to be very regulated, right? So even if you follow Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Di, Pancharatra, Vilimbina, everything, Aikantaki Harer Vaktire, Utpatayaiva Kalpata. But if you follow wrongly, then even if you want love for God, you will become a disturbance in your life and in those of others, right? And that's what happens. So why Vidura is asking so many questions? Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna is representing humanity, right? Again, the example of the patient and the doctor. Why did I get this disease? Or what can I do to cure it? So the patient, Arjuna or Parikshit Maharaj, right? They're asking on behalf of us. The whole Bhagavatam is basically Parikshit Maharaj's story in one sense. And all these different personalities and all these different conversations are to support what Sukadeva Goswami was presenting to Parikshit Maharaj. Am I right? Yeah? That is explained at the end of first canto. And Parikshit Maharaj, when he saw Sukadeva Goswami, he went and asked him questions. He had asked them those same questions to the sages just before Sukadeva Goswami arrived. Right? And anybody remembers the questions? Anyone remembers? I know sometimes they are difficult. 6 questions by the sages and then a number of questions by Sukadeva. Anybody remembers at least one question from Sukadeva Goswami? Any?
I think the first of all was the duty of someone.
The duty, yeah?
To die.
Of?
About to die.
Someone who's dying. Yeah. That's one question. I mean, he asked a few things. But basically, the way to remember is this. What does a living man has to do? And what does a dying man or woman has to do?
Live for Krishna and die for Krishna.
Yeah, easier said than done. But those are the questions. Those are the questions. What does a living person needs to do? And what does a dying person needs to do? Right? It's not only the dying one, the living ones. Right? So let's not wait for that time to come. Oh, then I will think of Krishna. Prabhupada says in the, where is it? Forgot. I don't know if it's the introduction of Shishupanishad or one of those. He said that sometimes people think that religion or spiritual life are only for fools, poor, and all people. That's for fools. They don't understand science. I'm technologically advanced. I'm modern. Fools, poors, and all people. Sometimes Prabhupada says. But these fools and rascals, as he would say, they don't understand that this is the true medicine. But of course, Maya, it's very, very expert. If somebody really wants to know about avidya, I recommend to read the Sri Upanishad. In the Sri Upanishad, it's only 18 verses. Smaller than any chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The smallest chapter in the Bhagavad Gita is 20 verses. The Sri Upanishad is only 18, and it's this big. And you can put it in the car or whatever, and you can read there. It's so nice. And there are like 4 or 6 verses that talk about avidya and vidya. Parallel. Right? Avidya is ignorance. And there is a result if we cultivate avidya. And there is a result if we cultivate vidya. And this is vidya. However, there's an interesting verse that says that we need to learn these two parallel, side by side. How is it that we need to learn about avidya? Anyone has any clue? How is it that we need to learn about avidya?
So we can identify what to
we worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. Medicine, it's meant to, investigate the disease. Right? And then tries to work out what's the medicine, what's the solution. So this is the solution, yes, but also a lot of it, if not most, it's about creation, the material world, how the senses manifested, how the mind works, right? All the different sins in chapter, 5th canto, where all the hells are described, right? If you do this, you go to this hell. If you do that, go to that hell. Bhagavatam, actually, if we see it from one angle, it's a book of problems. Do you agree? Huh? Parikshit Maharaj, it's terminally cursed to die in 7 days. Srila Vyasadeva was a frustrated author, writer. He wasn't fully satisfied, right? There was a problem there. Yeah. Prahlad Maharaj was an abused child. Right? He didn't see it like that. Prabhupada explains. He was thinking, oh, my dad is just, playing around with me. But he was actually blissful. Dhruva Maharaj, another child. And so many instances. Who else? Gayendra. What other pastime do you think it's based in trouble? Ajamil. Right? So many. Even 9th canto, Lord Ram's pastime. It's trouble. Right? 10th canto, it's a bit of a break. But still there are demons and things like that. So, as it is explained in the Shastras, the difference between this material world and the spiritual world is in the spiritual world there are no demons. So, it is explained that the good thing in this material world is that we can preach and get the benefits. Somebody was asking the other day, I think it was, I don't know if it was Maharaj or Janandan Prabhu, that why the demigods are queuing up to come. And I heard different things that were said in the class, but one of the things is that in this material, in this planet, you can preach. You can preach a lot. And whoever preaches, according to the Bhagavad Gita, it's guaranteed. Pure devotional service, become the most dear devotee of Krishna, and going back home, back to Godhead. Right? So that's why the devatas are lining up. And sometimes they sneak in and they hide their arms or their decorations and they go to the holy dams like that. That's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavatam. Okay, so today's class is about the pure soul, which is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dream, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in, how do you pronounce that? Nescience? Nescience. How does it become engaged in ignorance? How did we end up here in beautiful Maugulimba? Yeah, sense enjoyment. Yeah. And how many lifetimes in the past we have already gone through so many species and so many places and tried this, but it still is not enough. Let me try the last one. Today is the appearance of Madhavendra Puri, and I never get enough time to, talk about the great personalities, but by developing love for Krishna, that's the solution. That's we may say simple. It's not so simple. Simple to understand it, but it's not easy to attain that. So these great souls, Vidura, Maitreya, Uddhava, etc., appeared in the Bhagavatam, appeared in Krishna Leelas, in Chaitanya Leela, to give us an example. These are the people that we have to follow. Madhavendra Puri is one of my favorite pastimes. He didn't want anything. Anything. Literally, not even eating. He will say, unless the Lord calls me, right? I remember our Bhakta leader had that mantra. You have to follow the footsteps of Madhavendra Puri. That means that you only eat if somebody will call you to take prasadam. So in our temple, all the time was prasadam. Everyone was shouting prasadam, prabhu, prasadam, just in case someone wasn't invited. So prasadam devotees all the time. I remember that was my Bhakta memories. Prasadam, prasadam, because our Bhakta leader was so heavy on us, and we couldn't save prasadam for ourselves. We just have to give it, and somebody will save it, or Krishna will arrange like that. Good consciousness. keep you fit, slim. So these great souls, either in Krishna Lila, Ram Lila, Chaitanya Lila, they come to show us the path. Lord Chaitanya actually was very, very strict, very strict. If somebody will criticize him, he will pay attention. But if somebody criticizes us, what do? We go and write things on Facebook and tell our friends. So we need to be careful. The problem is not Maya. The problem is not Kali Yuga. The problem is not the West or modernity or my computer or what do you call it? Netflix or the web, right? The web, just like the cobwebs, right? I remember one of the first examples that caught my attention when I went to the temple. It is, we think that we are so happy enjoying. I was working in card and a couple of surfboards and stuff. And I was thinking, yeah, I'm happy. I was thinking, I'm really happy. And I remember I heard the class of this devotee, he says, but we're actually like a fly. You know, looking for things which will deteriorate and rot. And that fly one day sits or stands on the web of a spider, and that's it. Once the fly is caught, that's it. The more it moves, right, the worse the end, the closer the end. So this material world is like that. That's why it's called WWW, World Wide Web. Right? So we're thinking we're fine and we're blaming this, blaming that, but it's our problem. It's that we don't want. We don't want. So we need to change that by the association of the sadhus. Somebody asked Gorky Shordas Babaji, to the right of Srila Prabhupada, Babaji, what is the shortcut to perfection? Because it's difficult. And then he said, the harsh words of a sadhu. Look for a sadhu who chastises you. Imagine you go, Prabhu, Maji, can you tell me what's wrong with me and beat me with a stick? Who will do that? You know, I'm very proud. I like to be glorified. I like garlands. I love it and all this. But I don't like to be chastised or criticized. But there are ways that we can, what do you call that?
In with the needle out with the plow?
What's that?
In with the needle out with the plow?
Yeah. Come in like a needle, come out like a plow. Yeah, like a fast track. That's what I mean, fast track. We can fast track if we want. Okay, so let's just stop here. If there are any questions or comments or clarifications. Martin?
Thank you for the class. Just one question.
Pause. Freeze.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned that the heavenly bodies, they have they want to come to the material world for preaching. How about the spontaneous love? Where does that stand?
The what?
The spontaneous love.
The spontaneous love, that comes in time. That comes in
So
time.
that
With
also is
time.
available only on earth? It's not there
To my understanding, no. In the heavenly planets, that's not. I mean, I don't know if somebody may. I mean, our Brahma and others may, but Generally, it's not.
But they must have done lots of Sukriti or something, that's why they are.
Yeah. Sukriti is one thing, but that doesn't mean Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti is different.
So this is all Sukriti?
Yeah. Sukriti is there. We can also get a lot of Sukriti. Because of Sukriti, many of you are here. Right? Handsome bodies, beautiful, Look at this. This is heaven. Right? But that doesn't mean that whoever lives in Mount Wollongbar has love for Godhead. It's like a heavenly planet in comparison to many other places that I have been. But that doesn't mean that everyone there in the shops has Prema Bhakti. But if we read carefully Bhagavatam, especially the first two chapters, I heard this from superiors that everything is there. The first canto, everything is there. Why? Because Prabhupada thought that he may not make it. So he put everything there. If you read just the first two chapters, you can see how Narada Muni, in the first volume, right? How Narada Muni talks about Bhava, Prema, Bhakti. And where did he get it from? From the Bhakti Vedantas. Right? The transcendentalist. He says it. Right? Prabhupada explains. So we have to get it from someone. It's not that it's, everyone in the heavenly planets has it or something like that, or everyone in a certain region, right? Sometimes people in India think, oh, I am from somewhere, So we all are South Indian, or I am this, North Indian, or whatever it is, Every province, I think, it has that syndrome. Yeah. So we need to be careful. It's not like that. That's actually very, very rare, and we need to really find it. I think Jagananda Prabhu was saying that we need to really look for nectar hunters. I like that one, what he said. Nectar hunters. We need to look and talk, Prabhus, Matis, whoever, and observe their behavior, observe their consciousness, and then try to get some. Like that. Any other question?
Krishna, Haribol.
Yeah.
Haribol.
There you go.
Thank you for a nice class. Now I'm just thinking, okay, am I living here because I'm in this area because I've got the highest sense gratification? I'm questioning myself now.
Right.
That I choose to live here in New Govardhana Temple because it's beautiful. Does that mean I've got a strong desire for sense gratification?
You know that better than me. That's a personal question. One time, my Guru Maharaj, Srila Jayapataka Swami, he asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, I like Bengal too much. I like the Bengali, I like the people, I like being next to the Ganga. At that time, there was nothing. There was only that hut. So, with our philosophy, sometimes we may think, oh, this is too beautiful. Oh, that's not good. I better do something which is horrible, and then I will advance. So he asked Prabhupada. Prabhupada liked it so much. He says, that's your good fortune. That's your good fortune. So if you like what you're doing, that's your good fortune. Because sometimes the Guru says, no, you shouldn't stay here. Go to that hellish country, that hellish city, and go there and distribute books and open a center, like Prabhupada did with lots of devotees. And that's why we are here. Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Ganta Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Gaur Premanandi.